It's here. We are redefining what it means to sit at the girls' table. Hey guys, my name's Alana, also known as TradingFemale, and today I'm so excited to have Gareth Soloway, who has been in the trading industry for over 20 years. I don't know if any of you guys have tried trading, but it is hard. I'm an investor, which means I hold things for longer periods of time. The stocks I usually buy, I believe in the company's longer term vision and usually hold for months or even years. In venture capital, we actually invest in startups. So sometimes the holding period that I do is 5 to 7 or even sometimes 10 years. Now, Gareth is a trader and he'll get into this, but really it just means that he holds assets for minutes or even days. Now, Gareth performs technical analysis and tactics to decide which stocks or crypto he will trade. I've tried trading once. I don't know if any of you guys have, but guys, there are so many tools out there to learn from, and most traders even share or go live with what trades they're doing for that day. I decided to basically go to my Fidelity account, pick a random stock, and buy call options. Think about basically going to a roulette table and putting all your money on black, and I thought instead of paying for a course, I'd just learn by doing and spend the money by trying. Guys, it's not the way to do it. There is so much educational content out there. And so what I say is go out. If you're really interested in trading, spend the money to buy a course and to learn. But this is why I'm so excited to have Gareth on, because obviously I've tried, I lost money, and I never really spent the time to learn. And so Gareth is one of the best in the industry, and I can't wait for him to walk on today and really teach us the know-hows to how to actually day trade. Hey everybody, welcome back to Girls Table, a podcast where founders, creators, and investors share their stories. Today, I'm joined by Gareth Soloway, who is a pro trader with over 20 years of experience. Gareth, thank you so much for coming on the Girls Table today. I am so excited to have you. I just want to start off, if you could give some background about yourself and share your story of how you got started.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me on. It's an honor to be here. So let's go. I'm going to go back to the very beginning. I was a kid growing up in New York from Long Island. And my parents were we were like lower middle income. They were both teachers. And you know, I still remember vividly the only time we would ever go out to dinner was like at Friendly's Kids Ate Free on like Tuesday nights or something. So the idea is like, as I grew up, I didn't come from this wealthy family that was like, oh, here's a bunch of money, go try to trade and figure it out. And if you lose $1 million, like, oh, no big deal. It was like, that wasn't my upbringing. In fact, I didn't even know about investing early on. In high school, I was like, okay, I got to get into a good college. What can I do? I was like, oh, look, the investment club. Let me figure that out. That looks kind of fun. And so I got in, and I got in just right around, looking at investments around the dot-com bubble. And the dot-com bubble is so similar to what went on in crypto in 2021, right? Things were just going crazy. You had the Dogecoins and the SHIBs of those time frames. And so I basically got involved, and I saw this fake 100,000 account go to like 300K in a matter of like weeks. And I was like, oh my God, like this is incredible. I've got to figure this out. So from that point on, I was like, I'm going to become a trader. I'm going to figure out how to make this a living. And so I went to school. I worked for MetLife after college for 1 year. I hated it. They had me cold calling, all that stuff that was like not investing like. And after 1 year, I was like, I quit. And I had $10,000 saved. And I went out and I started to try to trade. Well, needless to say, I stunk. I was horrible. I did everything that everyone knew does wrong, and I started to lose money. So I worked 3 side jobs. I was like a bartender, bartending instructor. I worked at a catering company, like on all off hours, so that I could replenish like my trading account. And believe it or not, over time, I started to learn. I started to study charts. I started to study human psychology. And it took me years, but eventually I started to become a profitable trader. So, my point is, and the reason why I love telling this story is that if I can do it and I can come from that, then anyone can do it. It's just about dedication in terms of learning how to trade.
Yeah, and Gareth, I just want to stop you for the most unimportant part that you mentioned was Friendly's, and that was my first job ever. So I love that you mentioned Friendly's.
That's great.
But I think that's such an interesting story about how you kept up with it too, because I actually tried day trading before, lost a ton of money, didn't do any courses, didn't learn how to do technical analysis, and I'm so excited to really jump in that today. And just before we get started and really dive in, you've been in the industry for decades. So what's your favorite part about the job and what's kept you in the industry for so long?
So I think for me, the favorite part is that trading, there's nothing boring about it, right? Now, some days will turn out to be boring, like there's not a lot to do, but every day I wake up, I'm like, okay, what opportunities are gonna be there in the market? Can I find an opportunity that's gonna make me $5,000, $10,000, or maybe I'll end up losing? But it's not like a monotonous job where every day it's the same thing over and over again. And that keeps me, I feel like that keeps me young, right? It keeps me always excited to go into work.
Yeah. And is there any specific asset class that you're most interested in trading over the next year to 5 years?
Yeah, so I think for me, it's all about, I'm a chart technician, so for the most part, I focus on charts. So if it's an asset that trades liquidly, meaning there's a lot of volume and I can get in and get out, then I'm open for anything. I trade stocks, I trade commodities, I trade crypto. And really what I'm doing, like for crypto, I'm mostly trading like the top 20 because they have volume to them. With stocks, I'm trading stocks in the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ 100, but it's all about keeping that liquidity there because you don't want to ever get stuck in a position you can't get out of very easily.
Yeah, it's been a pretty crazy year, I'd say, during 2022, especially with the markets, both crypto and equity. Have you seen a correlation between the two as you've been investing in both?
Yeah, absolutely. So with crypto, right, it's as of now, it's a risk asset. I mean, everyone in crypto says that Bitcoin can become like a gold, like a safety, but as of now, it's still a risk asset. So when the stock market dumps, crypto tends to dump. When the stock market rallies sharply, crypto tends to rally sharply. So there definitely is a correlation, but I think eventually that will break, at least with Bitcoin, where it becomes more of a safety hedge when the stock market gets crazy, but we're not there yet.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people listening today have either invested before, are interested in investing or trading, but don't know where to start. So where do you first recommend people get started?
So if you're someone that wants to get into trading or swing trading, so swing trading, just to be clear, is like buying and holding for days or a few weeks, maybe even a few months, but it's not considered a long-term investment because you're not holding over 12 months. Day trading is literally going in and going out the same exact day. So you could be holding for seconds or minutes or hours, but you're out by the end of the day. And basically, what you're looking to do here is be involved and look for opportunities with these kind of like these levels, right? So I'm looking at technical levels, double bottoms, double tops, and it's bringing me around full-fledged into being able to predict, never 100%, but it's all about probabilities, right? So I always tell people, think about this. Would you rather go into a casino as the gambler where, yeah, once every so often you'll make money, or do you want to be the casino itself where, sure, a gambler will take them for X amount of dollars in occasion, but generally over the long term, they're always going to win.
And how do you ensure that? Because that sounds so nice. So when I went in and I tried day trading, I was a person who went in, I'm like, all on black, it's going to be an up market today and I'm going to do great. And then I'm like, all right, day trading is not for me. I have no idea what I'm doing. So how do you ensure that you're the house opposed to just a gambler?
So the key is education, right? I mean, like, I think you did what so many of us do, right? In fact, I did it very early on is you just dive right in, but that's like, it's almost like going in with the odds totally stacked against you, where you're going to be, trading, like, so as a trader, you have to look at how much money are you investing, because you never want to invest so much where emotion takes control of you. And the markets are amazing in that way, is that the markets will figure out how far to push it in the opposite direction where you ultimately make the wrong decision, right? So whether it's Bitcoin at 65 or 69,000 where it got so crazy that people were jumping in way up there, or vice versa, when something's getting crushed and you're in and you're finally like, I can't take this pain anymore, I'm going to get out. So as a trader, I always think about how much money can I devote to this asset where I'm not emotionally attached to it. And as soon as you take out emotion, what you do is you start thinking logically and you start following other things like the charts. And obviously learning the charts is where it's at, right? Once you start to learn these charts, you start to trust the probabilities. You see that every time X happens, the result is, let's say 8 out of 10 times I'll move in Y direction. And that creates this probability in your mind where if you take the emotion out, now you're just strictly playing probabilities.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned a lot about income and not having that emotional kind of decision making. So how much disposable income do you need to really get started?
So, I mean, you need to have a nest egg tucked away where, like, if you lost that money, you're not going to panic about it, right? And what people often come to me and they say, hey, I want to quit my day job and I just want to become a trader. And I'm like, dude, don't do that, because as soon as you quit your day job and you don't have some place that your bills are being paid from, you're going to be emotionally invested in that money that you're trading, and you're not going to think logically. You're going to get panicked when you're down $500. Can I still pay my rent? So keep your day job, learn on the side, and really take it so slow. Learn technicals. I always say to people, like study one thing in a chart 10 minutes a day, and in a year you'd be amazed at how much better you are. And don't even think about really trading significant share size. Like, how much money you're making in a trade is irrelevant in the beginning, because it's all about how much you're not going to lose. Like, I've never met someone as a new trader who just made money out of the gate and was like, I'm a genius, right? We all go through this learning curve. And so really the best thing to do is like put $10 in a trade where you couldn't care less if you lose your $10, but it's learning, it's trusting, it's saying, okay, this level should work. Now let me prove it to myself. I'm not going to make money, but at least I'm not going to lose it if I'm wrong.
Yeah. And so I'd love to dive in. Maybe if you could share your screen and talk to us a little bit. We talk a lot about kind of how you look at charts and the technical analysis. So if I'm opening up the stock market today, looking at the charts, like, what is the first thing you look at? And how to also, if you're trading a lot of what's on the S&P, how do you decide which assets to actually trade that day?
Yeah, so I'm one of these traders, and a lot of people will come on shows or they'll be traders and they have like a million indicators on their chart. And I'm like, dude, that's way too much for me. I can't even deal with this. It's giving me anxiety looking at all these weird lines. So I'm a simplest in that I just have trend lines on my chart. Occasionally I'll use Fibonacci, retrace, like things like that. But I really just keep it really simple, and I look for like major lows. Like the odds are, right? So one of the things I'm watching for here is look at this trend line from the all-time high on the S&P 500. And this, we're starting to peak above it. So I'm really kind of watching this closely. Is this going to be a near-term breakout where we could see significant further upside on the S&P? On the other side, look at this trend line. If we broke below this trend line, you would anticipate a bigger drop as well. So this is what we would call a wedge pattern. And I'm just really following. Right now, it's peaking above this high. I'm not sold on it yet. I want to see a confirmed breakout. But ultimately, I'm watching just simple levels, simple points of interest. And by the way, let's just say the market breaks down. Where is there going to be major support for me to buy? This would be called double bottom, right? So this pivot low, if we fell into this, you would expect a retrace bounce like that. So it's just looking at these simple things. I know I'm saying simple, and obviously it's not simple. You have to learn it, but it's kind of going over these type of things to kind of recognize the opportunities that are there, and just really letting the chart speak to you. Like I always say to people, the charts are a foreign language that you have to decipher. And once you learn what the candles mean, like every candle here is telling us a tale. If we learn it, we can at least kind of understand what the next move is likely to become. You asked about asset classes. Again, for the S&P, it doesn't matter the asset class or anything like that. Like if it has volume and it's moving, I'm all about trading it.
So could you open up the Ethereum right now to see that
Sure.
one? I'd love to see how you're looking at crypto.
Sure. So Ethereum, no problem. And I love going over charts like this. So any chart you want to kind of take a look at, I'm all for. So I actually have a short signal out on Ethereum right now. The reason I believe it's a short here is that you are into this top here. So this little area is resistance. And you also have this upsloping trend line here that it's hitting as well. So for me, until proven otherwise, this chart should dip back down a little bit and make some money on the short side. All right, so again, this would be, and again, for those of you out there watching that don't know what a short is, it's basically the opposite of a long. You make money when it goes down. So again, if any asset you're short, you want it to go down versus going up. I'm a huge long-term believer in cryptocurrency, but as a trader mentality, if I can see something's gonna fall, why wouldn't I make money off of it and then just buy it back at a lower level and then play the next leg up? So for instance, on Ethereum, major resistance here. If by chance it does break up, these are your next pivot resistance points where price will have trouble. So these next two little lines here. If it falls, where would I be a buyer? Well, basically, if it were to dump out back to this trend line, then you would anticipate a bounce off of that trend line.
So you're using all the trend lines to decide when to exit a trade or when to buy into a trade.
Exactly. Now, I do use a few little other things. I mentioned Fibonacci. Fibonacci is an amazing thing where the Fibonacci sequence occurs in nature. And I'm a big believer that if it occurs naturally in nature, like the petals on a flower are in Fibonacci sequence, there's so many things like that. If it occurs in nature, it probably has an overall impact on us. There's something, remember, we are part of the animal kingdom, if you want. And so I do believe that there are certain things you can use. A lot of people are like, oh, lunar cycles are nonsense, nothing like that. But I look at them as part of my analysis because if the moon can literally make all the oceans in the world, the tides go in and out, and we are humans and made up 80% of water, it's logical to think that there is a small impact based on lunar cycles on us as well. Now, it might be 0.001 impact on us, but if you map it across a billion investors, it may have an impact on the market. So like little things like that I do bring into my analysis.
And is there any strategy that you're doing differently between crypto and the market and actual equities in the market?
Yeah, so with crypto, I don't really day trade it at this point, because mainly there's not enough opportunity. So the stocks, you have earnings, you have all these other events. Some stocks go up on days, others go down. And so I'm very into like day trading stocks that are liquid. Crypto, because most crypto follows Bitcoin. And when I say crypto for trading, like the top 20, I'm not going to trade a coin that's like 1,000 on the list because there's no volume there. But in the top 20, most coins are going to go in the direction. So if Bitcoin is going to go up, chances are you're going to see an uptick in all the others. So I don't day trade crypto, I just swing trade it, but that would be the main difference in the two assets.
And are there any indicators you look for the next bull run that's about to happen? Because I feel like it happens, at least from my perspective, being an investor, like so quickly. It's like suddenly everything's going up, especially in crypto, but also we've seen the stock market change, especially this year. So what indicators are you looking at there?
Yeah, so I'm not a believer that the bottom is in yet on crypto. And again, I've been through the dot-com bubble. I've been through the 2008, 2009 Great Recession. And one of the things, or many of the things that I've seen are not occurring yet in crypto to dictate a bottom yet. So for me, I look at this rally, and it's an awesome rally, but to me, it's a bear market rally. And we just have to be a little careful here because you have a lot of unforeseen issues. Is there another FTX type scenario? What if the stock market collapses 25% and we know crypto's a risk asset? So I'm in the camp we still haven't made those lows. I think eventually we're going to head down. I think Ethereum could even pierce $1,000 again on the downside.
Don't tell me that.
What's that?
I said, don't tell me that.
Sorry. But the positive is, and again, I even think Bitcoin could go to like $9,000 to $10,000 before the bottom's in. But the positive is it will be the buying opportunity of a lifetime. One of the concerns I have with cryptocurrency right now is that crypto got so bullish so fast. Like literally the hype is insane right now, and we're just 40% off of the lows. And if you zoom out on the chart, like let me show Bitcoin's chart here. Like I want people to just keep in mind that this is what we're all hyped up about. Now it's a nice move, nothing to take away from it, but look at how far away we are, yet people are telling you that this is the new bull market. I've never seen a bull market come after a bear where everyone got bullish this quickly. Usually you see people very scared for the first 30-40% upside before they're willing to trust that it is a new bull market, and we're not seeing that here. So psychologically, there's some issues there as well.
Were there any indicators during the last bull run that you looked at so you knew, you're like, other than the fact of how quickly it went up, that you knew it just wasn't going to last?
Yeah, I mean, for me, with the bull market, I mean, this was one of my famous calls. In fact, the most famous that I've made was when we were up at this level here. I was saying, guys, it's a double top. This is a classic M top. People were saying it was a breakout, but you never confirmed above this high pivot. And there's a pattern called an M pattern, and this is a very classic M pattern. So that combined with the hype. One of the interesting things about the 2021 high is that the highs coincided with the launch of the futures ETF. Yet if you go back in 2017, the high coincided with the launch of the Bitcoin futures. And so the hype surrounding both were very suspect. It created this extreme hype. And one of the things I've always learned is that when something is overhyped, that's usually closer to the high than the low. And in this case of Bitcoin, it was.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because like you talk about the M pattern, like there's so much to look at. And I feel like a majority of day trading is just looking at different patterns, seeing if you see it. Now, AI has been growing significantly within the past few years. How do you think that will affect it? Because no offense, Gareth, you're one of the best in the industry, but I feel like a computer could see these patterns very quickly and maybe notice something that you wouldn't see.
Yeah, and you're right. As we see more advances in technology, it will become potentially trickier for the individual to kind of succeed. I think what's interesting is you could go back to the 1920s, trades were written on a chalkboard, and that was how they were communicated. And price moved very slowly because people had to figure out, okay, where's it trading in New York? And I'm in San Francisco, and I have to wait for the Morse code or whatever the wiring to go across. You then now got into in the late 90s, we got trading online, right? TD Ameritrade, E-Trade. I still remember my first trades, buying and selling were costing like $30. Now it's free to trade stocks on most of these platforms. And now we're in this era of algo trading. These institutions have billions of dollars to create these complex algos. So you really have to, if you're going to be a trader, you have to understand it's shark-infested waters. And that's why education is so important. And I'm not going to sit here and say that, is it possible that eventually AI could take over and then make it to the point where I can't trade? It's always a possibility. And hopefully there's another 20 years or 10 years before so I can make enough money to be okay.
Yeah, and so you mentioned education. You obviously have your own courses that you teach.
Yeah.
Where do you recommend they get started? Do you have like a 101 that people could learn? Is there anywhere just to really start those initial trades? Also to just follow along your trading, because you're trading every day, multiple asset classes. So
so a couple places. I just last year I did my pet project. It's called verifiedinvestingeducation.com. That's the website. And I launched the Winning Trader series, and I really tried to go soup to nuts. Like the first course is a 3-course series, 20 hours of content. And the first course is all about discipline. As an investor and a trader, you have to be unbelievably disciplined. Otherwise, the market will rip you apart. Then it gets into the human psychology of trading and how to spot these signals on Twitter where there's so much hype that you as an investor have to kind of be more cautious. And you want to be, all right, this is too hyped up. I'm not going to go long, even though everyone's telling me this is going to be the next big move in a market. And then it gets into the chart patterns that I trade, the secrets that I've learned over 20 years and all that stuff. And then the other place would be inthemoneystocks.com is my stock trading website, and verifiedinvestingcrypto.com is where I trade cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, so let's just say I'm really new to the space. I watched some of your videos, but I just want to go ahead and trade something today. Like, what would you recommend off the top of your head if you're like, hey, this is one that I definitely follow. I see a lot of opportunity and you guys should all look into this.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about potential trade setups. Let me show my charts again here, and we'll get right into it. So again, and these are swing trades. So understand that in a year this may not be valid. It may not even be valid in a month. But one of the charts that I've been kind of talking about a lot recently, and this fits the criteria of everything I'm doing, is this chart of natural gas. So one of the great things about this is that this was the most beloved commodity when Russia was doing all the, they were cutting off gas supplies to Europe, and price was at $10. Well, it's now crashed down to this technical support. And look at this technical support right here. Pivot high, pivot high, pivot high. And it's literally down from about $8 down to $3 here. To me, this is a risk reward, smart trading long opportunity where you should see a bounce back to maybe $4 or even above, which gets you about 33% return over the next couple of weeks or so. So I like natural gas here. And again, this is a chart that's oversold. Everyone hates it right now. That's when I actually start to like charts. I love when everyone else hates it. It means no one expects anything from it. There's no hype in it. And that's where, again, you start saying, okay, well, is there value to natural gas? Well, at $3 per cubic, whatever it is, there probably is some value. So I like natural gas here. Gold, I continue to like gold, even though it's rallied way too much near term. I wouldn't buy it right now, but gold is also another thing that I think will continue to break out this year. And I think if I'm right, crypto will bottom this year, just a little bit later in the year. And I actually like Bitcoin at that point as well.
And what do you think about the markets as a whole? Do you see us going into a bull run for the markets, or are they going to follow the crypto markets and continue to kind of be a bear? within
Yes,
2023?
I'm actually even more bearish on the stock market than I am on crypto. I think crypto will bottom before the stock market bottoms, and it will be actually an alternative for hedge fund managers as we get regulation. And one of the biggest things for crypto is we have to have regulation so we get transparency so people can't see their money stolen overnight. But once we get that, institutions will be interested in kind of buying in, and then we'll start getting in a situation where I do think that it bottoms before the stock market. But I think we're hitting by second half, we're in a recession in the stock market, and I think we will see quite a bit of downside. I'll show my S&P chart again lastly here just to show you, but I actually do have it priced in that at very least we're going to head to this trend line on the spiders, the S&P, which is the pre-COVID. This was the high just before the COVID collapse. Based on the Fed, based on interest rates holding where they are, that's where we should head at minimum, maybe even to the downside here. Oh, yeah. And you guys weren't even seeing my screen there, were you?
No, I was just about to tell you that.
Let me go over that again. All right, so here we go. This is the S&P chart. And again, just to note here, eventually I do think we break lower to this level and then even down here. So you're looking like, I still think we have downside of 25% on the S&P 500 this year into 2024.
Wow. And you mentioned regulation for crypto. You mentioned interest rates. Are there any other macroeconomic factors that you're looking at? Because obviously the charts, you're just looking for different patterns. But what else are you considering? There's so many different things happening in the world today that's really top of mind for you.
Yeah, so I mean, as an investor, I have to kind of keep an eye on black swan events, which would be like, Russia invading Ukraine or China and Taiwan. Those are the bigger things. You don't lose sleep over them at this point because, again, it's a very small chance that China will invade in the near term. But the bigger things are definitely all Federal Reserve related. The Fed has created an economy and a monetary system where everything we do is reliant on the Fed printing money or not, raising interest rates or not. That's everything at this point. And so they are now the predominant factor on if I'm going to be bullish or bearish over the midterm in the markets.
Mm-hmm. And also, I know earlier you mentioned some qualities that you need to really be a good trader, not trade emotionally. Are there any ones that you've specifically seen that makes the best type of traders?
Yeah, so number one, it's like, and I think we had talked about this earlier, is like, it's a difference between men and women, right? So a lot of times women make up better traders because they don't have the ego that men do. Men have a hard time admitting we're wrong. Our ego is like, oh, we got to be strong. We're going to just punish and continue to pump money in this investment until it goes our way. And women have a much more measured approach. So having a measured approach, being very logical, being very disciplined, those are all keys that will make you a better investor, swing trader, or day trader. And like, even what I always say is that if you want to be an investor, swing trader, or day trader, one of the things you want to do is always remember that discipline comes from even before trading. So like, do you get up at a certain time every day? Do you have a routine? Do you hit the gym religiously? What are your routines that you stick to in your regular life that then you're very used to bringing into your trading life? And again, the more regimented and disciplined you are in your personal life, chances are the better trader you'll be in the trading world.
Are there any habits you have daily that you think have helped you be a better trader?
I think honestly teaching has been like the best thing for me. So they always say that repetition makes you better. And so for me, it's learning how to trade and then teaching people and then just keep teaching over and over and reinforcing these rules and watching other people turn into successful traders even kind of impacts me and reiterates how important this stuff is and how it does work. And it just makes me even more committed to the trading world and learning how to read the charts.
Yeah, and do you remember a time, I know you mentioned the beginning of you starting where it was kind of lost, you didn't learn everything, so do you remember a time when you really traded off of emotion, and what's been your worst trade yet?
Yeah, so, and I think that's important for everyone to remember. Like, there's no perfect person. Like I said in the beginning, there's no one that comes into this game and is like an amazing trader out of the gates. You got to go through the hardships. You got to pay the market. If you don't pay for education, the market will make you pay. For me, it made me pay way more than what I could have gotten an education in trading, probably from someone who knew what they were doing. And so I think that's the key, is to understand that if I can do it, anyone can do it. It just takes dedication. And then for me, yeah, I mean, in the beginning, I had to learn lessons like 5, 6, you always hope that when you make a mistake, you learn from it. I'm not like that. I need to learn the lesson like 3, 4, 5 times before I actually figure it out. For me, one of the worst scenarios was I had just built my account up to $100,000. And, I was riding high, and of course this is the worst. When you get a little cocky and you don't kind of respect the market, they will crush you. And I still remember I got into day trade and I put too much money in to start and it kept dropping. And then what did I do? Well, I averaged in more. I put more money in, and before you knew it, I had my whole count leveraged out in this one position, and it never bounced. And at the end of the day, I was down 70,000 on that 100,000, and I basically undid probably a year of hard work building it up to that level. And I still remember that feeling of just like awe and like this haze. And it made me, that was a big turning point in my trading career where I had to really step back and I say, listen, you can't give up the profits from 12 months in one trade or 6 months in one trade. You have to limit how much you're putting in these things so that you consistently build, but no one trade demolishes your trading account.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. I feel like day trading isn't something you learn by doing. It's you learn by being educated. And most things in life, I feel like I could teach myself and I could learn how. Day trading is just not one of those points. So I just want to make it clear to anybody listening, do the courses, spend the money, because people do know what they're doing and there's so much to learn. For me personally, going in, I put a couple grand aside. I was like, I'm going to learn. If I lose it, I lose it. If not, that's great. Really lost it within a few trades in a few days. So I would just say I was the same. I needed to learn. I think there's so many educational tools. But how did you bounce back from that? Because I feel like if I lost that amount of money after working so hard and spending a year trading, I would kind of just throw in the towel and be like, all right, trading's not for me.
Yeah. So first of all, it was a gut punch, right? It really took the wind out of my sails. It humbled me to the nth degree. And then for me, it was I still remember that day. I walked outside and I just, I left the computer. I walked outside. It was a sunny day. It was warm. And I just remember rationalizing. Everything for me is about rationalizing it. So I said to myself, okay, listen, I'm healthy, I have food on the table, and I have a roof over my head. Okay, I'm fine. I'm gonna live and now get back to work. I'm not gonna let this thing derail me. I have to learn from that error and then continue on. And that's what I did. But it was kind of putting it in perspective and saying, okay, I have the 3 major things in my life that I'll be okay with. Money is just something that will come and go. Now get back and don't make that same mistake again.
Yeah. Wow. That's super interesting. And you mentioned, obviously, we've talked so much about trading. Are you also investing? Are there things that you're holding longer term that you believe in?
Yeah, so I've started to inch in, when Bitcoin was around 17,000, I started what I call a hodl position, which is basically beginning to hold a little bit for a longer term. And one of the things I do, and this is a really good tidbit of advice, is that anytime I get into a trade or a hodl position like this on Bitcoin, I never look at it and I say, I'm going to put all the money I think, I'm going to put it all in right here. What I do is I think about first, and this is the first step, how much money am I okay investing in Bitcoin as a hodl position? So let's say it's $1 million. And then what I do is I divide it up into segments. I say, okay, my first entry probably going to be wrong, but at least I have skin in the game if it starts to rip. So I take, let's say, 200,000 and I put it in there. Then if it drops another 3,000, I put another 200 in. If it drops another 3,000, 200,000 in. And ultimately, I accumulate that way. And the idea is that no one knows where Bitcoin will bottom. I have my thesis, but I don't know necessarily if I'm going to be right. So I want to have some skin in the game. And that's really what I do here. So there is a little Bitcoin, and then really the other place is gold. Gold, again, I always remind myself that gold since ancient Egypt, since even before that, gold was a precious metal that people used as a store of safety. And so I don't hold a lot of gold longer term, but it's enough to make me sleep good at night. That if I woke up one day and the grid was down and I couldn't get money out of the bank, if let's say Bitcoin, I couldn't access my Bitcoin or exchange it, at least I would have a little gold to protect my family to buy things with in that scenario.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that. That's super interesting. And what is one of the biggest lessons you've learned throughout your investing career? And what's one piece of advice that you have for the listeners today?
So I would say one of the biggest things is, and this I've been taught many times over, is never get cocky, right? We always think that, we have an edge, we have this, and the bottom line is the market will sense that out in you. That cockiness, that kind of feeling big will make you do the wrong thing at the wrong time, and the market will continue to teach you a lesson. And the thing is always to remember is there's no real trader that's super cocky out there. Like, one of the things about me is that I look at myself and it's like you always have to be humble because you never know what the market's going to give you. And I see a lot of these influencers out there in their Lambos and they're all, to be honest, though, they don't trade. They're not traders. And the reason I say that is because there's no trader that like is flaunting that stuff, because I've learned the hard way that it can be taken away like that. All right, it can go so fast, and it just creates this kind of aura of being like a more humble person. And so I just always caution people about that. Just be aware what you see in social media is for presentation purposes. It's to get you to make an emotional response and say, oh, this guy must be doing things right. And in reality, a lot of it is not directly related to trading. There's other ways that they're making money.
Yeah, that's awesome. Final question on the girls' table. Who would you want to sit next to if you could sit next to anybody at the girls' table?
Wow, that's a really tough question. I mean, I would probably go to like some people that I would find fascinating that have made it in certain areas and then also branched out into business, like Rihanna, Venus Williams, Serena Williams, like people that have made it in their career but then have also translated into business success. I always find that fascinating to see how they're taking it from one angle to a different angle. So, I mean, I would throw those names out there as possibilities, but yeah, heck, I mean, there's so many amazing women out there for sure.
Oh my God, just a side story really quick. I got to do a video call with Serena Williams the other day. And like usually like on all the calls, I'm like, I'm Alana, here's my background. I work in venture capital. They like throw it over to me and I'm just like, hi guys, I'm Alana, go back on mute. I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't even speak, but she's absolutely awesome.
Cool.
So yeah.
Wow.
Well, Gareth, thank you so much for coming on the girls' table today and sharing your story and really just walking us through the 101. For everybody listening today, if you would like to connect with Gareth, please visit their Twitter at Gareth Soloway and also their YouTube at In the Money Stocks. Is there anywhere else people could connect with you or find you?
No, I think honestly Twitter's the best place. I tweet a few times a day, some interesting chart setups with some ideas and some content. So I think that's the best way, at Gareth Soloway.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Gareth. I can't wait to continue watch you and really just follow you along and also take some of your courses too, because I feel like I need them.
Thank you for having me. It's honestly been a pleasure. Thank you.